All right, good to see everybody. Thanks for coming out. I'll first wrap up the BC game. I think it is what it is. That game on offense, we moved the ball, but we didn't score enough points. It was 6 trips to the red zone, and we ended up with only 3 touchdowns. And we've had really for 3 games kind of the same issues on offense. And in the BC game, it caught up with us. And our issues are we turn the football over and we don't score touchdowns in the red zone. And we were down there 6 times and we scored 3. And we just got to convert at a higher percentage down there. And we got to stop turning the football over. So we've turned it over 7 times in 3 games, which is too high of a rate for us to be successful. Defensively, it's a very misleading film. So we played 69 plays, and in 59 plays, we gave up a total of 180 yards. And then 10 plays, we gave up 344 yards. And we're just giving up way too many explosives. And again, it was an issue that kind of popped up late last year, really starting with the Notre Dame game. It was kind of the first game that I felt that we really had lost some eye discipline and the ball was going over the top. And then for the rest of last year, it was kind of up and down. Obviously, in the bowl game, we gave up a lot of big plays. And then Tulane, the 2 long touchdowns. Even Towson, we gave up some big plays. But we gave up 10 explosives, 6 of them for touchdowns. And it's just take your turn. It's not one person. It's, we have good players that are playing good football 90% of the time. But when you play in the secondary, you can grade out at 90%, and that'll cost you the game. And if your eyes are in the wrong place and you're on the quarterback instead of the receiver and the guy's running behind you, and it was just one play it's this guy, one play it's this guy, one play it's this guy, and you start adding that up, and it becomes 41 points. And obviously, you start every season, and you're not quite sure what you have. And then as the year develops, you start to form an identity. I thought in terms of defending the run, I thought, even though we had yards, I thought we played physical. We tackled Dillon hard. That didn't cost us the football game. What cost us the football game was our inability to defend the play-action pass and giving up the deep shots. And it was just, like I said, poor eye discipline, and it's a problem we've got to get fixed. And that is a priority. We're working hard on it this week. The challenge doesn't get easier. Notre Dame comes in as an undefeated football team. And to begin with, on defense, they're excellent. They have yet to give up more than 17 points. So they played Michigan, Ball State, and Vanderbilt, and they've given up 17, 16, and 17 points. We know the defense well. Coach Lee had been on my staff at both Bowling Green and Wake Forest. He learned this defense from Coach Elko. There's a lot of similarities to what we do, and we know it well. We're very familiar with it, and they're executing it at a very high level right now. It's a lot of the same package that Coach Elko ran here. And it starts with having, good players. Every single linebacker in their program, Tranquil, Belial, and Coney are all seniors. And they play like seniors, and they act like seniors, and their body language is like seniors. And they're just outstanding players. Tranquil is everywhere. He's got great instincts. He was their rover last year. And because of his athleticism, they can do some really cool things in coverage with him that maybe normally couldn't do with an inside linebacker. Belial is your ideal rover. He has the ability to play man coverage and zone. He can blitz. He can be a box linebacker. They're comfortable doing a lot of things with him. And Coney is just a very instinctual middle linebacker. He's a good blitzer. He has a really good feel for their blitz game. In the secondary, everybody back there is their 3rd year in the program. I'm really impressed with the 2 corners, both Love and Pride. They're playing a lot more man coverage, a lot more press, and you only do that if you feel really comfortable with who you're doing it with. And, you know, Love and Pride are both playing very well. Elliott's a returning starter. Gilman is a transfer from Navy who is just a baller. He's instinctual, diagnoses things well. He's an excellent tackler. And then up front, they're excellent. I mean, they're Notre Dame. They get the best of the best, and they get the 4- and 5-star guys. And this team is a team that always looks the part. You know, this is never a game that you look down at the other side and see them warming up and say, hey, we got this one. They're always an impressive-looking team. And then offensively, you know, their quarterback, Wimbush, is just, to me, a freak of an athlete. He can do things with the football athletically in terms of making people miss. I'm not sure. He probably could be their best tailback if he played tailback. But his ability to escape, to break contain, I mean, there's times people have angles on him and he just outruns the angle. And he does it against good people. He's got a really strong arm. He can throw the ball deep down the field. They're a team that is not, they will push the ball down the field, and he makes some beautiful throws. Their O-line, you know, they lose 2 first-round draft picks, and they're still one of the best in the country. You know, I thought BC's offensive line was excellent. I think this is another step up. They're big, they're physical, they know what they're doing. They've got 2 excellent running backs in Tony Jones and Jafir Armstrong, and their receivers look like our defensive ends. You know, their receivers are 6'4", 6'5", 230 pounds, and what they do is they throw big body balls. They let these guys go up and box people out. They certainly did it to us a year ago. Their slot, Finke, is a very productive player, a good returner for them. And again, it's Notre Dame, so you know you're going to play against good players. And this is a top 10 team coming to Winston-Salem. It's a national game. And we're excited to bounce back. This is a great opportunity for our program. But like any week, our focus has to be on us and making sure that we get better to give ourselves the best chance to win this weekend.
We had Ryan earlier, and we were talking about, he was kind of talking about you can't just say we're going to go score more red zone touchdowns. There is work that gets put into it. What is the work that goes into being more efficient in the red zone?
Well, I think part of it is just, you know, we haven't maybe made as many big plays this year. You know, I think last year we made a lot of big plays, and I think a lot of times, you know, we're having these 7 and 9 and 12 play drives to get down to the red zone, and now it's executing play 11, 12, and 13. You know, and a lot of it in the red zone is just a matter of winning one-on-ones. You know, when you get down there, you're not going to get a lot of soft zone. You're not going to get off man. You're going to have to beat press coverage. You're going to have to execute against blitz, and you're going to have to do it quickly. And you know, we had 2 balls in the end zone that really should have been touchdowns. You know, that we had our hands on 2 of them, and you know, the other issues on 3rd downs. You know, we just had some uncharacteristic drops. So I think we had 4 or 5 drops the other day, and all of those drops were either touchdowns or 3rd down conversions. And when you play an ACC team like BC, or any ACC team for that matter, if you drop 5 balls that either allows you to keep the ball and keeps the drive alive or gives you points, you're probably not going to overcome it. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for how well our special teams were playing, we're not even in that football game. I mean, right now, the last 2 weeks, our special teams have had 2 of the best performances we've had since we've been here. Really outstanding. And so I meant to say that in the opening statement. But, you know, if you don't get that fumble recovery on the punt, and if you don't block the punt for the touchdown, you know, that game probably, the score isn't as competitive as it finished. But having said that, we did those things. Now you can't drop passes in the end zone. You know, both those balls were put on people and on their hands. And bottom line is that you got to make those plays down there if you're going to score, whatever, you know, 48 points and win the game, which is, you know, to win that game, we needed 44 or 48.
You said after Thursday night's game that you might have to become a little bit more involved on the defensive side of the ball this week in practice. Has that been the case? And if so, what does that look like?
I mean, I've sat this week in every defensive meeting. You know, I've been with the defense more this year to begin with, but a lot of times what I'll do is I help run the scout team and help prepare the look for the defense. This week I'm in the back end. I'm listening to the checks. I'm making sure the communication. I'm not going to go over there in 3 days and wave a magic wand. To me, it's more emphasis that this is clearly an area right now that needs to get fixed. And it hasn't gotten better from week 1 to week 3, and we've got a lot of football left, so it has to get better. And I want to be back there and hear the checks and make sure that I'm emphasizing the things our defensive coaches are emphasizing. And sometimes when the head coach gets involved, there's maybe a little bit more urgency. But it's that clearly right now is an issue on our football team that I can't just. I'm past the point of saying, hey, it's just going to get better with time. I want to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, who we're doing it with. And I want to make sure that the things get followed through, and there's got to be improvement there.
What are some of the key takeaways you've gotten from being back there with those folks for the last 4 or 5 days in practice?
No, I just think, at times the communication, is not as good as it's been. I mean, for the first 3 years, we had Ryan Javion, who was an extremely vocal safety. Last year, Jesse Bates did a great job of getting guys lined up. Cam Glenn needs to be more vocal. Chuck Wade has to get comfortable being vocal. That you've got to bark things out and have a command of things and be loud and be confident and get everybody on the same page. And, I would say that, for the 3.5 years that we played good defense, we had an alpha back there running the show, making the calls, getting us lined up, and we need someone back there that does that there's no doubt what we're in. And I said, guys, if we're wrong, let's be wrong together. Even if we don't have the perfect coverage or the perfect check, if we're all playing the same thing, we give ourselves a chance. And we just we've got to have command back there and get things called out. And, that was one of the reasons we moved Chuck over there, is we were shorthanded. And, we haven't been lucky with injuries back there. So now you're playing Nasir Greer, you're trying to get him lined up. And now, you got to play safety. There's certain things you got to do. And part of it is the communication. And, we just have some guys back there that haven't played a lot, and we've just got to rep it and rep it and rep it and be loud. And if we have to, simplify things a little bit so we're on the same page.
In fall camp, it seemed like communication back there was one of the things you were encouraged by based on from I was. And, two guys that are really good at it aren't back there now. Kobe was really good with it, and Luke's very good at it. And I think hopefully we'll get Luke back this week, and that will help. Those are probably two of the more vocal guys we had back there. But that's football. Guys got to step up. It is what it is. The guys got to step up. And, we've got a 5th-year senior back there and a 4th-year senior. And even though he hasn't played a lot of safety, he's played a lot of football. And we just got to get those guys to take command of it and run the show. It has to be done at the safety level.
I talked with Chuck last week, and he said each week he's felt a little bit more comfortable. How would you assess just his growth over the first 3 weeks, and what do you expect?
Chuck's getting better. I think every week he's played better, and he's getting more comfortable. But like I said, there's things that it's been baptism by fire for him. And there's some mistakes we made the first 2 weeks that we could overcome. Because we had a talent discrepancy that we could overcome it. Last week, 2 even teams, and our mistakes we couldn't overcome. And I think Chuck's not a guy to point the finger. He's always a guy that's going to point the thumb. He knows he needs to get more vocal and get us lined up, and that's the job of that position. And Ryan Javion and Jesse Bates did a great job of that for us for 4 years or 3.5 years. And these are some of the issues we had at the second half of last season when we lost Jesse.
Notice Kendall Hinton made an appearance on the depth chart as the number 2 quarterback behind Sam Hartman. What do you envision as Kendall's role moving forward?
Yeah, we'll just, it's going to be fluid. Kendall can do a lot of different things, and we may use him a lot of different ways.
Have you gotten a sense that Kendall has been really looking forward to this?
I think he's excited to play football again.
should we expect to see him on the field Saturday?
Absolutely.
What does his skill set do for you in a game
A
like that?
lot of things. Kendall is one of our most dynamic athletes on the whole football team. I mean, I think if you'd say, who are your two most dynamic players, two most dynamic athletes on our whole football team, I think Greg Dortch and Kendall would be 1 and 2. You know, so we got to find ways to get him involved. And, you know, obviously I'm being a little bit coy on how that is because I'm sure Notre Dame would like to know how we're going to use him.
Do you think the lack of tape the first 3 games, not having...
Oh, Clark knows his skill set. Clark was here with them, and you know, I mean, you know, there's only so many things you can do in a football game, but there's a lot of possibilities.
You mentioned that their corners play man coverage, and to do that you have to be comfortable. How comfortable are you with your receiver matchups against their man?
I mean, it's going to be a challenge. They're good. I mean, Julian Love is one of the better corners that we'll face all year, and Troy Pride is an excellent cover guy as well. These guys compete. Notre Dame is obviously very comfortable putting them in positions against really good teams. So it'll be a challenge. You know, now when we're healthy, we think we're really good at receiver. And, you know, obviously last week not having Bachman was another challenge for us. But I thought Stephen Claude played well, and then Stephen Claude went down. And, you know, it's one of those years. It just seems like it's, you know, we were relatively, last year we were able to stay very healthy, and this year we've not been as fortunate. But you have those years like that, and you got to be able to overcome it. But hopefully we'll get Bachman back, and hopefully get Scotty back, and you know, I think when we're at full strength at receiver, with having Bachman and Scotty and Sage and Greg, and you know, I think we feel really good about that group.
Scotty dinged himself again on that block.
Yeah, it was a different injury though. He's, you know, so it was not the same injury, fortunately. So you know, he feels good today, and you know, we're optimistic he'll be able to go on Saturday. You know, that we need that. We need to be able to play 3 or 4 of those guys outside, so we're not playing guys 100 snaps. I mean, that's been one of our real challenges, is just because some of the injuries there, we're overplaying guys. And, you know, you can't play Greg Dortch 100 snaps every game and expect to have him fresh by week 8.
What was the effect of the weather over the weekend, if at all?
You know what, we just adjusted Sunday. Usually we meet and practice Sunday and give them Mondays off, and we just switched those 2 days just because we did not want players feeling like they had to come in on a day that the school was technically shut down, and we just did not want to risk any travel issues or things like that with kids.
You know, things change year to year, but you guys were able to have a great offensive performance against Notre Dame last year, the first team to do so. Does that give you any confidence this year the same way?
You know, every year is different. I hope we can continue the production we had in the second half last year against them. But conversely, you know, this was a game that we gave up 710 yards. You know, and if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of that production happened when the game was, you know, 31-10 or 38-17. I mean, it kind of, we scored a lot of points and we moved the ball a lot, but when we did that, they were up 14, 21 points. We need to move the ball better earlier. You know, I think it was, you know, the last year's game, you know, we really started out well. We moved the ball down the field, we kicked the field goal, we went back and forth, and then it was right before the half, we were down 24-10, and they were just trying to run out the clock. And they just ran a little power read play, and the ball cut all the way back, and then they ended up scoring a touchdown, and it just totally changed the whole game. Made it 31-10 at the half. And, you know, that was a game that we gave up too many explosives. And, you know, so I'm sure Notre Dame right now is looking at last year's film and thinking this is the week that they get their confidence back on offense. And we've got to rise up and meet the challenge because they've got talent. This team is, this is a very, very skilled football team across the board. This is one of the more skilled teams we'll play all year, certainly on both sides of the football.